Welcome to another episode. Today I'm chatting with Elizabete, who has a brother, Martin, on the spectrum, about her journey and her whole family's journey. Let's talk about where your brother is today. He's 21 and what's happening in his life.
So he just graduated from high school.
Yay!
Yeah.
So exciting.
So it's been a big milestone for him, along with his best friend, which was really exciting. And you were able to definitely tell that he knew it was his last day because he was very emotional. But it's going to be an interesting journey because my brother is very schedule based. So the schedule changing from a school routine to September is not a school routine will be a challenge.
A new chapter for him and
Absolutely.
for your family.
Absolutely, yeah.
So Martin lives at home, right, with your mom, your dad?
Yeah, so Martin lives with myself, both my parents. My sister's in university, so she's in and out.
Okay.
But yeah, he's still living at home with us.
So that's where he is today. Graduated from high school.
Yeah.
Major milestone, new transition in his life, right?
Big transition.
Let's go rewind the clock back and let's talk about how it all started. You've got yourself, your sister, Martin.
Yes,
right?
so Martin's the youngest.
Martin's the youngest, okay.
Yes.
Who's the oldest?
I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest,
Yes.
okay. Tell me about when Martin was younger. Do you remember in his early childhood?
A
what was
little
life
bit.
like then?
I'm the eldest, my sister's the middle, and Martin's the youngest. Martin was quiet. Martin didn't cry, he didn't play, he was very on his own and very attached to my mom. Yeah, not a social kid, didn't want to play with his sisters, but he was diagnosed at a very young age. I want to say he was diagnosed around the age of 3, and that's because my mom saw me and my sister in our development and knew that there was something wasn't going right.
Right.
So he was diagnosed, at a young age, I want to say around 3. My brother did different programs. He did like a daycare program and like an SK, JK program that was based just with kids with special needs until he got his funding. And that's when, he started doing therapies.
So first of all, I think it's incredible that your mom was, at that time, like just for people who may be watching to put it in perspective, if we rewind the clock back around, 19, 20 years ago, it was not that easy to get a diagnosis. I mean, still, arguably, depending on where you live, even these days, it can be tricky. But back then, it was, I'm sure it was a journey for your mom to, she noticed that there were some challenges in development, and she found a way to get a diagnosis.
Yeah, it took a while. I remember it was new for my parents. They never had to look into this before. So I remember there being a lot of like emotions, but a lot of like frustration because 19, 20 years ago when they would have started, there was nothing to like go off of or like nothing that they were able to find. But once they did, the ball just kept rolling. But there was a period of time of, oh no, like what are we gonna do?
What are we gonna do? But there would have to be persistence there to get to the next step, right? And so there's this diagnosis, and now the family, is shifted to, okay, what can we do to help Martin in terms of treatment and finding supports for him? And here's you and your sister. Where are you guys in all of this?
So when my brother got diagnosed, I was, senior kindergarten. Because in my senior kindergarten, I said I wanted to be a psychologist.
Wow.
And that's because my brother had the diagnosis at that point. So I didn't want to be a firefighter or a ballerina. I wanted to be like a psychologist.
It was amazing.
And it was just that, the diagnosis that sparked that in me, that I knew I wanted to do something. My sister's only a year older than my brother. So she was still super young. I don't think she really knew what was happening. With that being said, I was super young. So I didn't fully understand the concept of autism and what was happening. But that's when psychologists and outside resources were coming to help, and I knew I wanted to do the same thing. And I guess because I saw what my parents were going through, what my brother was going through.
Amazing. So to 5-year-old Elizabete, right? Take yourself back as best you can, or even early elementary school. What did it mean to you to have a brother with autism? Like, what does that look like for a sibling? Like, what the label is just a label, right? But for your family and your experience, I have a brother with autism. What does that mean for a little girl?
So by the time my brother got to school, like being in an elementary school, like the SKJK area, I was just protective. I wanted to be in the little kids' playground so I can see my brother and make sure he was okay. And my sister is the same way. I know, like, once I left elementary school, Laura did the same thing. She wanted to see Martin was with his friends. She wanted to make sure that he had support, that he wasn't alone. If he wasn't with friends, she was there with her friends to play with him, and I was the same way. Amazing. So me and my sister just, I guess without my mom being there, we turned into like mama bears at school to make sure that he was like learning, he was making friends, he was living the life an elementary school child should.
Yeah.
So
lucky to have two amazing sisters.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's incredible, and I think it's really important. And the reason why I wanted to have you on today is for people to hear the story from different perspectives, you know, from parent perspectives, but also from sibling perspectives. And, you know, there can be moments of challenge, but also incredible joy, and it shapes your life, right? Like
absolutely.
Your interest in helping and supporting Martin in whatever he needed when he was younger, it really shaped your life, right?
It did.
It's just incredible. So from your perspective, when you guys were younger, where did you see Martin's strengths, and where did you see that you thought, okay, like, I think he could use more help in this area, if he, you know, in terms of how he started off, and then we'll talk about where he's going after that.
So for the longest time, my brother was nonverbal. Today he is verbal, but for the longest time there was no communication. It was a lot of like guessing games, kind of like what does he need, what's wrong. So growing up, we knew that was something we had to work on in some way, some type of communication. That was, I think, the main goal of our family. He turned out to be a big social butterfly. I want to say by the time he got, I guess maybe it was the school part that helped, but once he got into like elementary school, he was interested to play with kids. He was interested to hang out with adults. He wanted to be around people, which social is not something that you always see, but that was something we knew we didn't have to worry about. He was interested to be involved with the rest of the family and friends, but communications, that's where a lot of it was, along with safety. Safety was a big piece. And I think it was just he didn't understand the concepts of cars come on a street. Or like you can't get out of a car in a parking lot and run inside the store. So there were some of those things that we had to work on very early on. But that all came with, I guess, the family and then the therapy that he was doing to help us out.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about that. So he's in school. He's getting support in school. He's having social opportunities. I think it's super important for people to hear that because sometimes it's a myth, right? That we think, you know, because autism is characterized as a social communication disorder, that, you know, kids maybe don't want to make friends or maybe not interested, but here we have Martin who wanted it. He wants to socialize and maybe needs a little bit of help with some of the tools to get there, like communication. So your family found therapy.
They did,
So what did that look like for Martin?
In the beginning, he was both in school and at a center. We drove him to the center. Like we kind of mentioned before, the family kind of shifted of what we had to do. So my mom stopped working. So it was just my dad working. So my mom was able to drive him to and from therapy. So he would do full days of therapy for a while, so kind of alternating like school and then therapy. And then he went through a few different centers, but that was where we found all of our help and our support systems.
So what did you say, therapy? What kind of therapy?
He did ABA therapy.
Wow, amazing.
So
amazing that you... Again, we're rolling back the clock to the time when your brother was younger. Times were very different in terms of access to intervention for individuals with autism, and your parents found an option, right, for your brother, and your your whole family's lifestyle shifted in order to make it work, right? How did they know? I don't know if you know this, but like, how did they find ABA?
My brother did go to, like I said, a daycare type program that was for kids with some type of diagnosis. A majority of the kids were like diagnosed with ASD. And one of the friends, who's Martin's current friend, actually went to the same program. And from what I remember, it's both of them, their parents, so my brother's best friend's parents, and my parents were in the same autism support group. And that's how ABA therapy came about. The only issue is at the time, funding wasn't available, or not to my brother yet. So we had like small, short hour sessions because it is expensive. Once my brother got the funding, that's when the therapy increased, and we switched to home-based. So we did a little bit of both. But my parents found ABA through like mutual people and the support group.
Amazing. This is a really important part for people to hear, is that the network, right? You have your network within your family, but then you have this community of supports. And it's not just the intervention itself that's important, whatever path that takes for different, individuals, but there's this whole ecosystem of the family, and everybody's going to need supports in different ways, and being able to find other parents that may be going through similar but different experiences, right? And some things may work for some families and it may not work for other families, but at least they found sources of support. How about for you? Did you have any, you've got your parents, do you have any memories of, or even throughout your journey, support as having your own experience within a family with autism?
So like I mentioned, the family that my parents found in the support group, they had a son who's my age. So their son became one of my good friends to this day. So I had, I guess, that family aspect, like of a friend. But I don't know, I guess when I was younger, nobody cared. Like, I'm just thinking back, like, my friends didn't care Martin had autism. Like, we didn't know what it was. I think it's just something kids don't learn about, or when I was in school. You never learn about autism or any other, like, disorders, right, or diagnoses. So nobody knew. They knew Martin was different, but my friend group didn't care. It wasn't something they pointed out or made fun of. So I never had, other than my sister, right? Like, me and my sister lived the same experience, so we had each other if something was hard, right? Because it's not always easy. But it was nice because I always had a sister to lean on, right? And vice versa. If something happened with her and my brother, she had me to talk to. So we used each other, I think, as the main support. But we did have our friends that just didn't care. Like, it didn't mean anything to them, which I think was a big part.
Good friends. The community.
Exactly, the communities.
Supports, right? It's amazing that you found those people. I'm sure it wasn't by accident. You attracted these incredible people into your lives. And that, you have now another friend who also has a sibling with autism. And share those experiences, and you've maintained the friendship ever since. It's amazing.
I'm gonna say, we've probably known each other for 18 years. 19 years we've known each other. The families have stayed together.
Just in my own practice and working with families throughout almost 25 years, a lot of what I do is the intervention piece, and that's super important, helping teach the kids the skills they need to learn. But again, they live within this like whole ecosystem of a family and a community. And intervention is a lot of work, right? You mentioned your mom leaving her job. This is not an uncommon story that I hear. So one parent has to make a tough decision in order to make it work, even just to make the drives back and forth, right? Let alone learn the strategies, figure out how to make it work within everyday life, or however the family's going to participate. Implement it, help identify goals. There's so many pieces to this, right, that are all super important, that are centered around the individual with autism. Super important. But in order for that to work, right, to keep it going, I would say it's like a marathon, it's not a sprint, right? You got to stay in the race, you got to pace yourself. It's this whole other community, and you guys found that.
We did. We really lucked out.
Within the family, and then also outside. Yeah, it's amazing. And maintain the friendships ever since, right?
Yeah.
Incredible. I mean, I have no doubt that that's probably a large part of Martin's success too. Your success, your sisters, everybody in the family, but his success too, right? Everybody's able to be at their best, right? Because they're getting the support they need to.
Yeah.
Right?
I know. I think that was the big thing. It's true. Martin had a support system throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
And no one gave up. And I think that's the big thing, like you mentioned. It's like, it's a marathon, right? You can't, nothing's going to change overnight. And I think that's a lesson we all learned.
Absolutely.
Like just in life in general, that things can't change overnight, that it is the ongoing process. So once we kind of understood that, I think that changed all of our minds, because it was difficult in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
And when my brother was diagnosed early 2000s, you didn't hear about it, right? So it was tough for even like my parents, because now they had to say, oh, our son has autism, right?
Yeah.
And they went through, I think, they were able to accept it and stuff, but they did lose friendships over it, right? Because it was a foreign thing, right? No one knew about it, so.
How did that happen, that they lost friendships? Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, like I said, in the early 2000s, I'm just going by, it's based off like my memory,
For
right?
sure, yeah.
But
your experience, yeah.
when my parents mentioned, or to friend groups, right?
Yeah.
Martin has autism. A lot of people didn't understand at the time that autism isn't something that the parents did.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So a lot of the parents or their friends, a few friends, did mention things like, oh, like, but you can fix it. You can parent better. You can do those types of things. And that's, my parents knew, like, this is just not a good friendship.
Not a good fit
because there was that judgment there.
Yeah.
With that being said, though, those friendships have rekindled. Like 15 years later, once more information got out,
Yeah.
more details and articles, and it became more accepting
Yeah.
in society, those friendships did come back. So there was a rough
Yeah.
piece in the very beginning. Yeah.
Yeah. And they really needed to look for those good friends, good support system that could be there to weather all of that.
Yeah.
I mean, for those that may be watching that don't know, historically, and people may pick up an old textbook or, some book somewhere that talks about the history of autism, where there was a period of time, a terrible dark period of time, where there was a belief that poor parenting led to nuts. I can't even fathom it.
I know.
It actually enrages me. Like
Yeah.
There's like a fire burning inside of me when because working with so many families, we know that is absolutely not true.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's interesting that, and sad at the same time. Like, and I just read about it. Your parents.
They lived it.
And your family,
Yeah.
you may or may not remember, but I'm sure the experience impacted you too, and of course it impacted Martin too.
Yeah. Well,
know?
I remember the like friendship breakup, or the like losing that friendship happened, because I remember going to the other families. I remember going to their kids' birthday parties, and then all of a sudden, me and my sister weren't going to those birthday parties. Oh, what happened to so and so? And there's never a real answer until once me and my sister got older and we were able to understand this is why, right?
This is what happened.
But there was this period where it was like, oh, what happened to so-and-so? Like, why don't I get to see this friend anymore? And it's because that friendship with my parents and their parents hit that rough patch.
Yeah. So your parents and your family moved through all of that, established maybe some new friendships and new experiences that they may have not.
Yep.
Your brother's going through ABA.
Yes.
Your mom's driving back and forth. She's somehow, I don't know who's getting you to school, your sister. I mean, there's a lot going on, right?
Yeah,
in the family. Do you remember anything about your brother going to ABA? And from your perspective, what did that look like? What did that mean as you were growing up?
The ABA place my brother started at, I remember going after school to the center, and that's because my sister had swimming lessons next door.
Okay.
So it didn't really impact my life per se. I also, luckily enough, was a block and a half from my elementary school, so I was pretty much my mom could stand there, walk me to school. It would take 2 minutes. Then she could drive my brother. And I also had like family friends that I stayed with after school and stuff. So we had, like I said, that support system that was there for me and my sister when my brother did need to get places. And then my brother switched centers for his therapy. And when he switched centers, then they started coming to the house. And the house turned into, the basement was my brother's classroom. So I remember like, oh, Martin has therapy from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Like, you can't go downstairs or you can't go into this room. And that's because he had school and he had his sessions happening. So I guess there was a little bit of like disruption in me and my sister's lives because now part of the house was not allowed to be touched, right? For a certain amount of time every day because he did do therapy once he had the funding, pretty much 5 days a week.
5 days a week.
Yeah.
He was lucky. He got funding and he was able to increase the hours. But something you actually mentioned about that before that I think is important for people to hear is there was a period of time, right, where it was tough for your family in terms of getting intervention, funding wasn't there, and what they did was they did anything they could, right? Was it optimal? No. But they did the best they could to get something, to start teaching him. This is something I encourage parents to do a lot.
Yeah, he started with very few hours. It was like whatever our family, with the money we had, what can he do?
That's right.
And then once the ball was rolling, it was 5 hours a week. And then it was, okay, during the summer we can do a little bit more, right? And then once the funding kicked in, then we took all the funding we could get, and then he pretty much rolled just into ABA therapy.
Amazing. Do you remember any highlights of things, accomplishments or milestones that your brother had that impacted you, or maybe moments between you that you said, okay, he's got this, right? Like, oh, I can't believe he can do that. Wow, that's amazing. Is there anything that sticks out for you?
Our family was always the Wii house. Like, we had every Wii game, every Rock Band game. And I remember he was much younger. And like I said, he had this period where he did no communication. It was a lot of being upset or crying because he didn't know how to express what he wanted. And I remember when he was young, coming up to me and my sister and handing us the drumsticks. And that was him communicating, okay, I want you to come play with me. Like, we want to play Rock Band. So that was the big first one.
That's great.
I know another big one from my parents. So we have a cottage on a lake. And my brother was swimming, and then he ran out of the lake to go use the washroom. And that's how we knew he was toilet trained. So I remember that, and it was a huge party for our family, right? Because, he ran out of a lake to go use the washroom.
Amazing.
So that was a big one.
This is huge. So toilet training is one of my most favorite things to do as a clinician. Because it is, to me, one of the biggest game changers that you can make in a child's life.
Oh, right? Big time.
And people don't know this. Some people are shocked by this, but there are individuals with ASD that are adults that never had intervention that are still in diapers. To me, this is like an outright, it's a crime. It's criminal. It's a human rights infringement. There should be no individual with developmental disabilities in diapers in adulthood ever, because it completely changes the trajectory of their lives, right?
It does.
Toilet training, milestone. I know I need to go, and I just go in, and I'm swimming. Right?
And I'm swimming.
Really fun.
Exactly.
To go, to the bathroom. This is huge, like monumental, amazing. It's like that memory, and that's like etched in your family's memory.
And I was
amazing.
I would say I was probably like 10. So I was still young too. So it wasn't until my parents told me like why they're so happy what it was, and I remember it being huge. Because it was. Okay, we don't have to take him every 2 hours now. We don't have to remind him before bedtime.
That's right.
We don't have to have a babysitter who's open to taking someone to the washroom who's in their older child ages, right? Because that's a huge one. So, that was a big milestone for our family.
Don't have to pay for diapers. People don't think, they're expensive, right? You have to pay for that throughout childhood. That's a lot. Childcare, opportunities for activities. People don't realize that if you have, as kids get older, if they're in diapers, it limits their ability to go out and do community events, or as they get older, they may, if they're living in a group home, other people may go for a day trip, they might have to stay back, right? Because they can't manage the toilet training needs. That's not your brother.
No.
Amazing.
No.
Amazing.
That was huge. He also had when he started to vocalize was a big one. So I couldn't tell you what the age is, but from the age of going from grade 7 to grade 8, his vocabulary of like 50 words turned into 1,000. It was like in one summer, it was all of his vocab came in and he was talking. Like you couldn't get him to stop talking. And it wasn't us, like it wasn't my family or my parents that noticed his vocabulary grew so much. It was our neighbors at the cottage who went, Martin sat and talked to me for 5 minutes. He told me what he did at school. He told me what he did during the week. So I think that was a milestone, I guess for us, but we didn't realize it because we saw him every day.
Yeah.
That in that summer, he had very little like vocal communication to the communication he has now. But it was the neighbors at the cottage that went, Martin's amazing. Like he just gained all of these words, right? So that was a celebration from us, for us, right? Because it is huge, but like I said, we just never realized because we talked to him every day. So it's the people at the cottage who never saw him for 6-7 months, and then he came to the cottage and didn't stop.
He's chatty.
He's chatty, yeah.
He's chatty. This is amazing.
Yeah, so that was another huge one.
So this is one of those things too, I think, when people go, oh, all of a sudden, but really, in the back end of all of this is your family, is anyone who's helping with, intervention, all these, education, all this stuff. It's like you're just chipping away, practicing, doing this, getting this learning opportunity, this, intervention, hours and hours and hours, and all of a sudden there's this like cumulative effect, right? Of now you see it, and actually other people who don't see him every day are like, wow, this is amazing.
Where did it come from?
It's not magical, right?
No.
This is a lot of hard work for Martin and also for your family to get there. Yeah, so those are gold. Like that's priceless. All those incredible milestones that he's achieved. Really.
They were huge for our family. Yeah. Huge.
So now he's going into high school. You're in high school at the same time, or?
Yeah, we went to different high schools.
Okay.
But he would have been entering high school when it would have been my last year. But like I said, he was in one school board and I was in a different school board, and that was just because of the opportunities that were available for him.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just what's a better fit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's got friends, right, that he's made through his journey.
Yeah.
You've got your friends, right? So you talked about when you were like in kindergarten. I don't know which kids say this, but you said, I want to be a psychologist.
I know.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Right? So now you're going through high school. What are you thinking about, like, your life in terms of, the directions that you want to go in, what impact you want to make in life, and how has this whole journey shaped you?
So when I got to high school, I still knew I wanted to work within the field of autism. How? I didn't know until after I graduated university. I didn't know where I was actually going to go. But all of high school, I knew I wanted to be in the field of autism in some way or another. My sister kind of was in the same route, that she wanted to do something to work with children. But I remember now that I'm in high school, like my mind shift changed because it was, I'm gonna say like a wake-up call, because I knew that at some point, me and my sister will have to take care of my brother. So I remember going through this period of time where I was like, how am I gonna afford having my brother with me for the rest of our lives, right? Like, what schooling is he gonna go to, or opportunities and stuff. So once I got to high school, I guess I grew up a little bit more, and I realized I'm not gonna be in school with my parents for the rest of my life. I have to figure out what I'm doing next. Yeah. So that was, I think, my whole high school experience was my stepping stones of what do I need to do in order to get into the field and be able to make sure my brother stays within the family. Because family's huge for my family, like always supporting one another. So I knew that I didn't want my brother to go to a group home or even a nursing home or anything like that. I knew I would want him to stay with me. So my mindset was, what do I want to do for myself that's also going to help my brother and my family? So
this is not what teenagers are thinking about in high school, typically. Right?
I know.
They're thinking about, which party they're going to go to, or, just hoping to get into whatever university, anywhere far enough away from their family. Right? Yeah. And here you are thinking about your future, not only for yourself, but for your brother.
Yeah, my sister's the exact same way.
Wow.
the exact same way. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It's really, and I think, again, there's so many different dynamics in terms of the autism experience, but the sibling experience is unique for every sibling, right? But there are, and we'll talk about maybe some of the challenges as well from the sibling perspective. But I think, there are stories that people don't know about that, you've been shaped because of your family experience, and now you're thinking about your brother, but you're also thinking about, like, how do I give even to the larger community? Is just it's enough even just for you're looking at your brother, but you're even looking beyond that in terms of your reach and how you can help, right?
I would say Martin had, I think, the biggest impact on everyone. Like, my mom has said it before, like, having you and your sister was a huge experience, but having Martin and having his diagnosis was a whole nother experience. Our family learned very early on that you can't take anything for granted. Because we had, like, the little milestone of Martin said hi, Martin went to the bathroom by himself, Martin did this, that we were like, these are life-changing, right? So we learned not to take things for granted. We learned that friendships, if they're meant to be, they're meant to be. Like, you're not gonna have a friendship that's gonna put you down or put your family down. Like, you want the support systems. So me and my sister, because of Martin, had to grow up, but we had him as like a role model of, like, the type of people we wanted to be. So his impact on our family, like our actual immediate family, is one, but then, like, our extended family also, Martin impacted their lives. It's like a huge ripple.
Amazing.
That Martin had.
That's really profound. That's incredible. So people sometimes say to me, like, oh, like, you're such an amazing person, you work with kids with autism, that's so incredible. And I often say, and I really do believe this, no, it's actually the opposite. Like, I'm learning, it's incredible that I've had the opportunity to work with these kids and their families. Like, I've gotten so much from that. It's the opposite. I think I'm teaching them, but they're teaching me. They've taught me the most about life, right? And families and siblings and parents and everybody.
Martin did that.
Not taking anything for granted, right?
That was a huge one. I think that was the core lesson that my family learned.
That's really beautiful. Do you have any moments that you maybe, thought this is like a challenging moment, and how did you get through that?
In the very beginning, when my brother was first diagnosed, Martin never got in trouble. Martin got away with everything. And so between my brother and I, there's only 3 years difference. So between the 3 siblings, there's only 3 years in total. So we're all very close in age. But both me and my sister just didn't understand, Martin can draw the window, but we can't. Why isn't he in trouble? So that was a big one. We didn't understand, why can Martin get away with things, but we get in trouble for those same things. So that was, I think, the hard one. And it was actually my brother's home therapist, his, like, clinical coordinator, who came to, like, do whatever, test something out or do something with my brother, who came up to me and my sister and was like, and to my parents said, Martin's a kid just like everybody else. If you didn't let your daughters do this, why are you letting Martin do this? Why isn't he getting in trouble, right? Like, there's consequences for actions no matter what. But there was a nice period of time where we were like, me and my sister were like, this isn't fair. Like, we don't get it. But my brother's therapy team became family to us as well. We're actually still in contact with a bunch of them. But it was my brother's clinical coordinator that sat down with me and my sister, and because they did parent coaching stuff too, but they did sibling coaching, if that makes sense. Of like, okay, like, when Martin wants to do this, right? Like, you can teach him to do this. And we mentioned it to her, and we were like, Martin did this last night, like, as any little kid does, just complain. We were like, Martin did this last night and he didn't get in trouble. And she was like, but why? And it was like, oh, because he's allowed to get away with those things. And that's when it was like, okay, Martin's a kid like anybody else, right? So that was the hard part. Growing up was just, for that period of time of, why does he get away with everything? And then it was, I guess, when the clinical coordinator said to my parents, well, why? Why did you do that? Well, he has autism. Okay, but if you were out in public, you would still tell him not to do something, so why is it changing in the home, right? Like, Martin's a kid just like anybody else. He's your son just like any son would be to anybody else, right? If you were to tell, like, Lizzie and Laura, like, you can't do that, you should be doing the same thing with your son, like with Martin.
Yeah.
So that was also a big eye-opening thing, because we never thought of it, right? We were like, we have to baby him almost, right? We have to take care of him. We have to make sure he's okay, he's happy, right? But it was, it has to be equal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a hard growing up lesson for us.
There's no manual that comes, like, with parenting in general.
Yeah.
But let alone parenting a child who has any sort of special needs, right? You don't know. And like you said, you want to love him as a family and support each other, right? And everyone's doing the best they can. And sometimes that's why you need other professionals to come in and help, guide some difficult moments. And you've got your support in your community. You guys went through that. And good for you for speaking up when you were, a little one, saying, hey, hello, what about me?
Yeah, so.
Yeah. Because, there's those pieces too. There's a lot going on, and everybody's voice needs to be heard within the family. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. So now you're moving on in your journey. You're getting past high school. You're going to university. And professionally, tell us about where you are now. So
I actually work in the field of ABA at a center, your center. And I graduated high school in 2019, and I started in your center 3 months later after graduating. Not knowing what I wanted to do. I was kind of just putting my foot in the water to see, is ABA what I want to do with my life? Fell in love with it. Haven't left. Went back to school. Continuing to learn and grow within the field. But again, it was because of Martin, right? And because he did the ABA therapy, that's why that was the first place I dove into, because I saw it. I lived it, right? But it was a totally different experience going in as an instructor and then growing from an instructor to where I am now within the company, right? And they all teach different lessons. Oh, they really do. They really do. What am I going to learn today? You're right. It's amazing. Your little 5-year-old self would be so proud of you. I know. That's amazing. So now, having gone through this journey that you've been on, incredible. You're paying it forward in so many different ways, and you're learning and growing yourself, right? If you could go back to your little 5-year-old self, right? Your little version of you who's just entering this whole journey. What would you say to her? Any advice that you would give her? Thoughts? There's 2 pieces, which are totally opposite ends of advice that I would give. But one, I would learn or say you have to be patient. And being little, patience, maybe just for me, but patience was not there. It was little things that would frustrate me, that would ruin some of my evening, right? It was, oh, Martin has the remote, why can't I have the remote? Or Martin did this and now we all can't go to the park anymore, right? So part of me, or the first piece of advice I would give myself would be patience is a virtue. If you just take a minute and just take a deep breath even for your patience, it can totally change the experience. So that would be my first one. And I guess the other one would be the complete opposite of that piece of advice. And that would be, go to that birthday party you wanted to, even though your brother wasn't invited. Go to the movies or the park, even though your brother's, Martin had sensory issues to sound when he was younger. So I would deprive myself of some of those things but I want Martin to come with me, but he can't. So the other part of me would say, go be a kid. Go watch High School Musical in the theaters. Or go to the park, go to the birthday party, right? That's so beautiful that you can exist as a sibling and as part of a family and have that experience and do everything you need to do to be a part of that and support each other. But also, I think this is a beautiful message for all siblings to hear.
you can be yourself.
Yeah.
You're allowed to have yourself. You're allowed to have an identity outside of your family and outside of, I am the sister of a little boy who has ASD, which is an important part of it.
Yeah.
But you're multifaceted.
Exactly.
And, and go out and you should go out and see High School Musical tonight. Rent it on Netflix or something.
I know. Yeah. That would be the other piece.
Yeah, that's really, really profound. Amazing. So Martin has graduated from high school. And what are the next steps for his journey now?
Right now, like I said, my brother is very schedule based. So right now at my house, we're still doing a smiley board system of you have to keep all your smileys for the week before you go to the cottage for the weekend. So we're still implementing some of the stuff that we had him do in school. With that also being said, we're taking the first few months, like September, October, maybe the new year will start, but the rest of this year we're getting used to the idea that there is no getting on the bus. There is no seeing Miss so-and-so and your friends at school, right? We want him to get used to this idea of high school isn't the only routine you have, because that's the only one he's known from the first day of high school, and then he didn't graduate in like grade 12, like he was able to stay longer. So the past many years have just been high school. So we're kind of getting him out of the routine of school, and we're doing kind of like community stories of like, now that you're out of high school, you get to go to he loves animals, so like you can go to the farm, you can help like brush the horses and stuff, because I do have friends who like live on farms. So now we're telling him like, you get to go live, but it's not going to be you wake up at 6 a.m. every day and the taxi or the bus comes at 9:05 and then you get to school at 9:30. Like, we're trying to get him out of this routine and a little bit more flexible of every day is allowed to be different. And the summer has been a little bit of that right now, where, okay, there's no school, and okay, today you're going for a walk with Laura at 10 o'clock, but tomorrow it's at 2 p.m. So we're trying to just make him flexible of when things happen. So when he does, like, we're applied for the funding for Passport and all those other ones. So when we do get it in the new year, hopefully he's okay with an everyday changing routine. Right. Because right now it's very rigid, and no, I have to do X, Y, Z in this order every day. Yeah. So that's kind of the current transition period for him, is letting him know that you're allowed to stay home. You don't have to go out every day. You don't have to take Sophie, so our dog Sophie, you don't have to take her for a walk every day at 10 a.m. That things can change, and it's okay for them to change. Yeah. And then once we see that he's adapted to a little more free of a lifestyle, then we're going to introduce him to community programs that are available in our area. So
it's great.
Yeah.
This is huge for people to hear, that the shift from high school beyond is a massive change.
It was a big change
for individuals with autism. Like, this is just, I mean, for anybody, right, in general. But it's like you said, don't take things for granted, right? There's so many components, and one of them is just being used to get up, get dressed, get on the bus, whatever, right? Yeah. And so that in itself is going to take some time for him to be adjusted to. And then there's adult services, and it's a whole other world for everybody in the family, including Martin, to get ready for. Yeah, but it sounds like you guys have a really good plan. And then there's always going to be things that come up that you're just going to have to roll with, everybody.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you've got some steps to getting to where, Martin needs to go and have a really good future together, right? Yeah. Okay, so that's him, where he's going. Yep. How about you? Where are you going in the future? What are your hopes and dreams for your next steps?
So I want to finish school.
Yay. Okay. That's huge. Yeah.
So finish school and get my BCABA is the next goal.
Amazing.
I'm not looking to go in any other field. I really do want to stay with doing ABA therapy. So doing what I'm doing now, basically. There's definitely some more positions and stuff that I know I can grow and climb up the ladder a little bit more. Yeah. But the first one is school, for sure, finishing school. And then, like I said, I'm currently still living with my family. So transitioning, which is going to be hard, but transitioning out of my house, and it'll be like little things, because Martin's the one who locks all the doors every night, and he's the one who closes blinds, and those little things.
He takes care of the family
He does.
too.
He does. He even pulls the corner of our beds, like before you go to bed. He like unfolds it. So
what a gentleman.
those like little things are things that I'll have to now adapt to because they're not happening. But
wow.
Yeah.
That's a big transition.
It is going to be.
Yeah. But exciting. That's amazing. So, with your whole experience, what would you want other siblings who are maybe other 5-year-old little girls who have, a brother or sister with ASD, or any sibling of any age, to know that may, help them?
Don't let your sibling hold you back. Just because you have a sibling with ASD, you can still live your life. You can still live your life. You can still go have fun. But you'll have your sibling there always, right? With you, and you'll grow from them. You'll learn from them. Like I said, the idea of patience, right? And growing up a little bit faster is okay, but you also have to remember that you're 5 and you can't be the main support system. I guess the other last little piece would be that it's not the end of the world. And I think that's I say back then, but it was early 2000s, so it wasn't that long ago. But a diagnosis of ASD doesn't stop your life. You can still live the life you wanted. You can still go to school. You can still go to the restaurant and stuff, but you can't do it all by yourself. You do need those support systems. And if you do it by yourself, then yes, your life stops. But if you branch out and you build your community, then you can continue doing what you want to do. You can still do everything you want to do and more. Amazing. And learn more. Yeah,
and actually I think it's even helped propel you in so many directions that a lot of people wouldn't be. You're giving to the world. Right? You're giving to your brother, you're giving to the world. It's just incredible. Okay, last question.
Okay.
What do you want the world to know about Martin, your brother? ASD. Start with him and then ASD.
I guess Martin's a big teddy bear just because he's 6'5" in height. He's not scary. But I guess I would also want people to know that you don't have to treat him differently. If he's at the restaurant, you can ask him what he wants to drink. You don't have to look at his parents or me, for example, right? He's able to make decisions on his own. So just because there is that diagnosis and we may have told the waiter or waitress, hey, he has autism, it's going to take an extra minute for him to order what he wants, give him that minute. Don't turn to us, because he does have that independence. But if he doesn't have the chance to practice it, he won't learn it. So I guess to everybody else, patience is also huge for them, right? Yeah. So they can do things on their own. They don't need their mom and dad or brother and sister to do everything for them. And then in terms of ASD, and when I want people to know about that, it's still something new. And I'm learning this currently right now as well, is there's still tons of research. There's still a lot of unknowns about ASD. So just like we want to keep learning about ASD is still learning about itself.
Yeah, that's true.
So what you read today might change in 5 years. And to be open to that change, that don't get stuck on what it says today, that it's always changing, new research is coming out, new therapies and medications and support systems and groups and schooling, right? Things are always changing, so you have to be open to those changes as well, right? So what you read today, just know that there's a lot more to still learn. Yeah.
Hopefully, it'll make the experience even better.
Exactly.
For everybody, help everybody.
That's the hope.
That's just very good advice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For sharing your story and your family story. beautiful. I have no doubt that there are people that are watching this that you will really touch. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much, Nancy.
Thank you.